first up on the docket, we're going to get started in the world of President-elect Donald Trump, where ABC News is reporting black conservatives are feeling left out based on appointments and nominations for his upcoming term. Last month, Trump appointed Scott Turner, who was executive director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council during Trump's first term, to serve as secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. One area of frustration for many black Republicans was speculation that if Trump did nominate an African American to his administration, it would be at HUD, the department that has had the most black secretary appointments of any. At the time of this taping, 53 Trump nominees have been reported. One is black. That's it. And a total of 5 are people of color. A couple of things I wanted to bring up. I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. Trump proclaims to be cool with the brothers and the fellas and what have you. And, but when it's time to appoint people to positions of power, folks are choosing folks they're accustomed to, who look like them, share their cultural identity, things of that nature. You're expecting me to be overly critical of Trump about this. I'm not. The fact of the matter is that folks lost the right to complain. Folks lost the right to complain, even the black conservatives. Because if you're a black conservative, now remember, we're not talking about truth for a second. We're talking perception. If you are a black conservative, and you heard about Project 2025, and you're looking at the Supreme Court and folks who've been placed on the Supreme Court and some of the decisions that they have made against things like affirmative action at institutions of higher learning and, of course, Roe v. Wade and other things. If you want to point to all of these things, you kind of knew this stuff was coming. See, in the end, at some point in time, we got to grow up and recognize the fact that Donald Trump, as much as folks want to accuse him of being a pathological liar, there are some things he was flat out open and honest about. That's what he's going. That is about him doing what he wants to do, when he wants to do, for whomever he wants to do it to, and everybody else be damned. And that is what is taking place right now. Now, if you're a black conservative like a Tim Scott, you're a black conservative like a Byron Donald, you're a black conservative like the Larry Elders of the world or various others, I can get where you're coming from, but I haven't heard anything from them, and there's a reason you haven't heard anything from them. Number one, Byron Donald's probably not interested in such a position. He's a representative out of the state of Florida. Cool brother, by the way. I got a problem with him being a Cowboys fan, but that's a different subject for another day. But, I mean, the brother, he's a representative for Florida. He's got his sights set on one of 2 positions, from what I'm told. Marco Rubio is going to be the Secretary of State, longtime senator out of Florida, former presidential candidate running against Trump in 2016. He's now going to be the Secretary of State under the Trump administration. So Byron Donald is either interested in filling his seat, or, from what I'm being told, he might want to run for governor of Florida. And I got news for you. He'll have a good chance. He'll have a damn good chance at either position, personally. If you're thinking about Ben Carson, it's just me. But I don't want somebody serving the United States citizen that looks sleepy all the damn time. That's just me. That's just me. I'm not knocking him. But I mean, the man is a brilliant surgeon. His reputation speaks for itself in terms of his ability as a doctor and in the world of medicine. I get that. But damn it, he looks sleepy all the time. He makes me nervous. Because he looks like he's asleep most of the time. Larry Elder is another name. Former gubernatorial candidate out of California, former presidential candidate, didn't have much of a chance, but smart, renowned radio host for many, many years, relatively polarizing figure. He can take the heat, very intelligent, very capable. I'm not making these recommendations. I'm simply pointing out that if you're Donald Trump, there's certainly people from the African-American community that you could have looked towards to include in your cabinet. So why are you not doing it? That's a question for Donald Trump to answer. That's a question for folks in his administration to answer. And if you are a black conservative, you definitely have the right to ask him that question. You definitely have the right to ask him, what about us? No, he didn't win the popular vote amongst the African-American community, but he damn sure inched into some of those numbers. Kamala Harris didn't beat him as decisively amongst the black vote the way Biden did and the way Hillary Rodham Clinton did. So I would take heed to that. I would pay attention to that. And it would be a legitimate reason to ask ourselves those questions. If it's an indication, and dare I say, something that foments fear within the African-American community about what's in store for us, I say look at it a different way. See, everybody want to get in Donald Trump's way. I don't want to do that. The American people have spoken. He's won decisively, okay? You know what I say? Let him have his people. Let him have whatever he wants. Go ahead and govern. That way you have no excuses when things go awry. You can't say the Dems were in your way. You got the Senate, you got the House, you got the White House, you got the Supreme Court. What's up? You can't sit up there and blame anybody else if the economy falters, if inflation ultimately ravages our society, if things aren't handled at the border, if the streets of America are still riddled with crime. You can't sit up there and blame anybody else when you got everything you want and need in order to run a government the way you think a government should be run. You talk about the swamp that exists in the nation's capital, the cesspool that's been alive and ravaging through our country over all of these years. You got an opportunity to clean it up. Can't blame anybody. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't forever. So if he does the job, all right, fine. If he doesn't do the job, you can change course in 2 years. It's a midterm election. In 4 years, there's another presidential election. Let's not go for the gloom and doom and the world is coming to an end because the man that a lot of people didn't want in office is in office.